At my dad's $10,800 retirement party, he glanced over his shoulder and said, "Stand in the back. Family gets the front row." My sister Lena gave me this smug little grin and muttered, "You're lucky we even let you in the photo." The room broke into laughter, not the real kind, but that sharp, shallow kind that makes your skin crawl. I stood there trying not to let it show. Then the slideshow started. Photo after photo played across the giant screen. Dad's childhood snapshots, old trophies, pictures of him and Lena posing at galas, grinning on vacation, and standing proudly in front of the lake house out by Pine Ridge. Yeah, the same lake house I'd sunk $58,000 of my own money into fixing up last year. Not a single shot with me in it. Not one. Every image had clearly been picked with care. And I was nowhere. I stayed perfectly still, breathing slow and deep, trying to keep my chest from rising too much under my dress shirt. Now's not the time. Just hold it in. A waiter floated by, offering up another round of champagne. Dad was in the middle of his speech, talking about how grateful he was to his wonderful family for putting the event together. Of course, he didn't mention that I was the one who paid for all of it, like usual. Then he turned to Lena. "You've been my rock," he said, raising his glass toward her. "None of this would have been possible without you." I clenched my jaw so hard it cracked. My gut twisted, but I pushed out the usual fake smile. The one I'd practiced at every family function. The one that said, "I know where I stand." And just when I thought that was it, Dad let out a chuckle. "Almost forgot something," he said, like he was telling a joke. He pulled out a slim envelope and handed it to Lena, holding it like he was presenting her with a damn royal proclamation. "The lake house is officially yours now, sweetheart," he said. "It's in your name, completely transferred." The crowd roared. My ears buzzed from the applause. Lena let out a squeal and wrapped her arms around Dad, burying her manicured nails into his $1,000 suit. I blinked hard. My knees locked to keep me upright. The lake house. The one I refinanced my own home to renovate. The one where I rebuilt the whole deck with my own hands. Where I spent endless nights hunting down decent contractors and comparing quotes. The house they always said we were fixing up for the family. "Fitting," I whispered to myself, the words slipping out like steam from a cracked pipe. I could feel Dad glance at me, just for a moment, but he looked away fast. Like I wasn't even real. Like I was already gone. That night, once the fake smiles were wiped away and the last of the guests had left, I made my move. By 2 a.m., I was logged into all the lake house utility accounts. The bills were still in my name. I cut the gas. Killed the electricity. Shut off the water. Then I pulled up the county property records. The quitclaim deed I'd signed last year? It had a little clause, buried in the fine print. Obligations pending. Nobody had read it. Except me. I filed a rescindment, removing my name, clearing any legal ties, and canceling my liability. My final move? Just one envelope. I stuffed it full of papers, screenshots of the frozen utilities, the official rescindment form, and a letter to the HO, letting them know I was done. Any further dues, repairs, or headaches were now someone else's problem. I sealed it, dropped it in the mailbox, and finally got some sleep. But I wasn't always this invisible. At least, I don't think I was. Growing up, I did what any good son was supposed to do, kept my head down, worked hard, and put everyone else first. I was the guy who patched up the cracks behind the scenes. While Dad chased promotions, while Mom clinked wine glasses at charity events, and while Lena was the one everyone adored. Family helps family, Dad always said. But in our house, that meant I helped them. Period. The first time they needed bailing out, I was just 24. Dad's business partner had been skimming off the top. Bankruptcy was looming. So I took out a $20,000 personal loan and drained most of my savings. "It's only temporary," Dad promised. "We'll pay you back." They never did. Then came Lena's turn. Law school. Private. Prestigious. Naturally. There were tuition costs, books, rent for a fancy off-campus apartment, the whole 9 yards. And when her scholarships didn't stretch far enough, guess who stepped up? You know how sensitive Lena gets under stress, Mom would say in hushed tones, like it was gospel. She just needs some stability. So I co-signed her loans. Covered her rent when she missed payments. Paid her car note, for 2 years. Quietly. Without a fuss. Over and over. And when she finally passed the bar exam, they threw her a giant celebration at that same overpriced country club where Dad's retirement party took place. 15 grand. Open bar. Live jazz band. I covered half the cost for that party. Not a single person thought to raise a glass in my direction. But it wasn't just about the money. It was always about the pecking order. This unspoken truth that I was appreciated, but only when I was useful. Never when it actually counted. Holidays? Lena always had the final say. Family trips? She picked the spot. Even birthdays turned into a weird kind of contest. One year, my own dad completely forgot mine because Lena had just gotten engaged to Ethan, the smug guy with a trust fund and a permanent smirk. You get it, right? Mom had said, her voice syrupy and sweet. It's just been non-stop with the engagement planning. Sure. Planning. And I took it. Swallowed it whole. Again and again. I thought the lake house would be different. 3 winters ago, after that brutal storm collapsed part of the roof, they were ready to sell it. We just can't keep up with the costs anymore, Dad sighed, holding a bunch of repair quotes like they physically weighed him down. Unless I stepped in. So I did. I called contractors, sorted out permits, fronted $58,000 out of my own account. I used my weekends to drive up there, hammer in nails, carry lumber, and put in insulation with my own 2 hands. It became my thing. My little slice of peace. This'll be our family legacy, Dad had said. For all of us. I wanted to believe him. But I should have known better. The cracks started widening last year, right when he brought up retirement over a drink. You know, he said, swirling his scotch, Lena's really done a lot. So selfless. So driven. Reminds me of myself, honestly. I smiled like I agreed, but my teeth were clenched so hard they hurt. Selfless? Driven? She worked 30 hours a week at some boutique law firm her mom's old sorority buddy ran. She still mooched off my Netflix account. But trying to push back with Dad was like swinging at smoke. He'd just shrug it off and change the subject like it never came up. And Lena? She always knew how to dig the knife in a little deeper. You don't really need the lake house like we do, she said once, swirling her wine like she was some character in a drama. We're thinking about starting a family. Kids need nature, you know? Nature. And the $58,000 I dumped into that place. The real blow landed last month. Sunday brunch. Mom cornered me in the kitchen, her voice soft but rehearsed like she'd practiced in the mirror. Listen, sweetheart, she started, we think it's time Lena really settled in. She's done so much for us. Giving her full ownership of the lake house just makes sense. I blinked. Full ownership? We're not co-owners, I said, frowning. She flinched for a second, then smoothed it over with that same well-worn smile. Well, you were always the one helping. You never asked for anything. I just looked at her. My own mother. The same woman whose mortgage I'd kept afloat after Dad's second business scheme went belly up. You're right, I said quietly. My voice steady. Cold. I never did. She patted my arm like I'd just agreed. Thought my silence meant I was fine with it. That's what makes you such a blessing, honey. And right there, something inside me cracked wide open. The fixer they relied on? He was gone. I was done bailing them out. Done being the one they leaned on. And I was damn sure done being invisible. I never warned them about the frozen utilities. I didn't say a word about reversing the deed. I let them walk right into the mess with wide smiles and zero clue. Sure enough, it didn't take long. 2 weeks after Dad handed Lena the keys like he was passing down a crown, my phone buzzed while I was sipping coffee on my balcony. It was her. Lena. She sounded panicked, her voice trembling. Can you explain why there's no heat or water at the lake house? The electrician says the account's frozen, and the HOA just sent me some violation thing about unpaid fees. What's going on? I took another sip, smiled into the mug. That's weird, I said, keeping it cool. You should probably call the new owner. She snapped back. You were the owner. Your name's still on everything. Not anymore, I told her. Check the paperwork. The line went quiet. Real quiet. I could almost hear the gears grinding in her head. You can't do that, she finally whispered. Already did. And I hung up. 3 hours later, the storm hit. Full family ambush. I walked into my parents' house like I was marching into enemy territory. Mom sat at the head of the table, pale and tight-lipped. Dad stood behind her, arms crossed, jaw locked. Lena was already seated, red in the face, flipping through a folder thick with legal docs. Sit, Dad barked. I stayed standing. His voice dropped low, all edge. Explain. Now. I kept mine even. I just did what I was legally allowed to do. The utilities were mine to control. The deed transfer had terms. You broke them when you gave away my investment without asking me. So I reversed it. Dad's eyes narrowed. You're sabotaging your own family. This is petty. Vindictive. Lena slammed the folder shut. Her calm cracked. You're ruining everything, she shouted. You selfish prick. We had plans. I'm pregnant, for God's sake. I blinked. There was her final card. Congrats, I said, flat as concrete. Still doesn't give you the right to steal from me. We didn't steal anything. She screamed like I'd stabbed her. You never even wanted the lake house. You barely used it. You only fixed it because you offered. And then Mom chimed in, voice coated in sugar and guilt. Honey, you've always been so giving. Why are you acting like this now? We're family. I let out a short, sharp laugh. No humor in it at all. You're right, I said. I was generous. I paid your mortgage. I covered Dad's business screw-ups. Lena's college. Her car. Her bridal showers. For 10 straight years, I've been this family's personal ATM. And all I ever got in return was a pat on the head, like I was some loyal dog who knew his place. Dad's jaw tightened. You didn't have to do any of that, he snapped. You offered. Yeah, I shot back. Because you guilted me into thinking I owed it to you. Every favor came wrapped in a bow labeled family loyalty. Every sacrifice? Expected, never thanked. And the one damn time I asked for a little respect? You handed the house I rebuilt to your golden child like it was a door prize at your retirement party. Mom's eyes started to shimmer. But sweetheart, you have such a good job. You're doing well. Your sister needed it more than you. I lost it. Because you never made her learn to do anything herself. You coddled her through every bump in life while I picked up the slack. Lena's tone dropped to ice. You're bitter. You've always been jealous of me. Just admit it. I stepped forward until there was barely space between us. I could feel the tension crackling. Jealous. I said, voice dropping to a near whisper. The what? The debt? The freeloading? The way Mom and Dad bent every rule for you so you never had to take responsibility for anything? No, Lena. I'm not jealous. I'm done. Dad's hand slammed onto the table so hard the silverware jumped. His veins were popping. You're tearing this family apart over a damn cabin. No, I said, my voice like stone. I'm finally ending the years I let you use me. I'm done being useful. I'm done being invisible. The room fell silent. And then Mom did her thing, the exaggerated crying, the kind she broke out every time she didn't get her way. You're breaking my heart, she sobbed. I never thought you'd turn on us like this. I locked eyes with her. You just never thought I'd stop playing the role you assigned me. Dad stepped in, trying to bark authority back into the moment. If you walk out that door, he said, don't expect to come back. I stared at him, completely calm. That's the point. I turned and headed for the door. Behind me, Lena started shrieking something about betrayal, selfishness, family. I didn't catch the words. Didn't care. I didn't even pause. Just as my hand hit the doorknob, Dad fired off his last bullet. You'll regret this. I looked back, smiled, and said, no, you will. Then I walked out. For the next few days, my phone blew up like it was on fire. Calls, texts, voicemails. Some begging, some angry, some laughably fake. Please call your mother. You're tearing the family apart. Think of your niece or nephew. You've made your point. Now stop being dramatic. I ignored every single one. Then came round 2, the guilt trip squad. My therapist later called them flying monkeys. Suddenly, everyone we'd ever met had something to say. Family friends. Neighbors. Cousins I hadn't seen in 5 years. Your father gave you everything. Lena's pregnant. You should support her. It's just a house. Is it really worth this? I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I just smiled. Because finally, they were scared. They didn't have their safety net anymore. By the second week, Dad tried to get legal. He had some bottom-shelf lawyer send me a sternly worded letter. Failure to honor the original verbal agreement may result in legal action for breach of familial obligations. Familial obligations? My lawyer, who, by the way, charges more per hour than Dad made in a week, laughed so hard I thought he might tip out of his chair. Let him try, he said. If anything, you could sue them for financial exploitation. And Lena? She launched a whole sympathy campaign. She started posting cryptic sob stories online. Pictures of her holding her stomach, staring out windows like some tragic heroine. Some people would rather destroy a family than grow one. Pregnant and heartbroken but staying strong. Hashtag family first, hashtag stay strong mama, hashtag toxic people. The comments rolled in. You're so brave, girl. Your brother will come around. Haters gonna hate. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. My silence said more than they ever wanted to hear. And then they brought out the big guns. They sent Mom. One Sunday morning, I opened the door and there she was, Mom, standing on my doorstep like nothing ever happened, holding her casserole dish like it was a peace offering. Sweetheart, she said in that soft, rehearsed voice. Can I come in? Just for a minute. I should have said no. I knew better. But I stepped aside. She sat down at my kitchen table like she belonged there, straightening her skirt, flashing that familiar forced smile, the one she always wore right before saying something that would hurt. Look, she started, we've all made mistakes. Your dad's been under a lot of pressure. And with Lena, well, she's pregnant. Plums. You know how emotional women get. I stared at her, stunned. Even now, still, she was making excuses for them. You were always the strong one, she added, like it was some kind of compliment. That's why we leaned on you. You've done so well for yourself. You've been so blessed. My stomach twisted. No, I said quietly. That's why you used me. Her smile froze right there on her face. I just want us to be a family again, she whispered. Your father, his health isn't what it used to be. And there it was. The guilt card. Right on cue. The perfect tear shimmered in the corner of her eye. Like she practiced it. You don't want him to die with this hanging over all of us, do you? I let out a long breath. I'd heard this kind of script my whole life. You know what's funny? I said. I carried this family for years. Paid the bills. Saved the house. Covered Lena's life from every angle. And the second I stop, just once, I become the bad guy. Her lower lip started to tremble, but I wasn't done. If Dad's really not doing well, maybe you should have thought about that before giving my house, the one I built, to your favorite kid. That's not fair, she said, voice cracking. Fair. I snapped. My voice finally broke through all the holding back. You sat there and watched them drain me. You watched Dad humiliate me at that party, and you said nothing. She flinched like the words hit her physically. I didn't want to lose my family, she whispered. You already did. Her whole face fell. She didn't speak for a long time. Please, she said eventually, barely audible. We need you. And that was the real truth. Not love. I got up, walked to the door, opened it. You know the way out, I said. She left, clutching her casserole and quietly sobbing as she went. Weeks went by. Not a word from Dad. Lena kept posting her passive-aggressive sob stories online like she was starring in her own reality show. But word travels. And then, out of nowhere, something happened that I truly didn't see coming. One afternoon, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Heavy paper. Handwritten. Inside was a letter, from Ethan. Lena's husband. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I had to write you. I see it now. Everything they did to you. I didn't understand it fully until I married into this circus. Lena's spending is out of control. She maxed out all our cards. Your parents keep bailing her out, but it's never enough. She already tried to take a second mortgage on the lake house. Denied, thanks to that legal freeze you put in place. Honestly, I'm leaving. I can't do this anymore. And I wanted you to know. You were never the problem. I read that letter 3 times. Then again. I sat there just holding it. Someone finally saw me. Someone from the inside. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't selfish. I was just finished. That night, I had the best sleep I'd had in years. 3 months later, I stood out on the balcony of my new place, a breeze rolling across the city lights, cool and quiet. No calls. No guilt. No heavy weight dragging behind me. Just peace. And the fallout? It hit quicker than I expected. Without me footing the bill, their whole little kingdom started crumbling. Literally. The family home? Falling apart, Dad's retirement savings dried up trying to put out Lena's endless fires. And the lake house? The one they sneakily gifted without a word? Foreclosed. The HOA sued for unpaid dues. Utilities went ignored. Penalties stacked sky high. No one could keep up. Lena's Instagram life crumbled too. After Ethan walked, the truth leaked out. All those designer bags? Bought on credit she couldn't afford. That luxury SUV? Reboot. Her job at that fancy law firm? Gone. Turns out, even Mom's well-connected friends couldn't save her forever. She moved back in with Mom and Dad. 3 broke parasites, all living off each other now, gnawing at whatever scraps were left. The shiny, perfect family image? Shattered. I started hearing whispers. From old neighbors. From distant relatives. From the same people who once gossiped about how cold I was. But, maybe he was never the problem. Good for him. About time someone stood up for themselves. And just when I thought the curtain had closed, one last envelope showed up. This time from Dad. So, I know things got messy. Your mom misses you. Lena's struggling. We all made mistakes. But family is family. If you're willing to talk, we'd like to rebuild. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I was finally free. For too long, I confused duty with love. Thought loyalty meant going broke to keep everyone else afloat. Thought saying yes meant I mattered. But now, standing here in the city I rebuilt my life in, without any strings pulling me back, I saw it clearly. They never loved me. They loved what I gave. And once the giving stopped, so did the illusion. I stepped back into my condo, phone buzzing with a message from my real friends. Dinner plans. Jokes. People who care about me, not my wallet. I slid the door shut behind me, blocking out everything that came before. And I smiled. I wasn't their puppet anymore. I was done. And this time, it was forever.